outside, if people have to be outside, we have chairs that they can take outside. We have speakers that are broadcasting into the parking lot.
Protect our pensions. An umbrella committee formed to coordinate the efforts of 60-some committees like us throughout the country. You'll be hearing more about their purpose and efforts in a few minutes. You've been given handouts explaining the Butch Lewis Act of 2017. Butch Lewis was an important leader in the pension protection movement. He died in December 2015. He was a freight driver and steward for Holland and later served as the president of Cincinnati Local 100. He stood for solidarity and democracy. It's a fitting tribute to Butch Lewis that the Pension Protection Bill be named in his honor.
I'm going to get right into the meat of this thing. This bill was put together by Sherrod Brown, Richard Neal, and the IBT. They put their heads together and came up with this idea. It's fairly well understood kind of a concept in terms of pension planning, etc. But we'll go over this thing pretty directly here. All right. It creates a new agency in the Treasury Department called the PRA, and this is the Pension Rehabilitation Administration. The Pension Rehabilitation Administration is basically charged with one thing, and that is to sell Treasury bonds. They will have a slightly different name because they will be specifically for us. But they are essentially Treasury bonds with the same kind of interest rates, etc. And they will sell those Treasury bonds for funds that will be used to pay for the rehabilitation of pensions, which in this case, like in the Central States, would be to pay the funds to the retirees. Basically, most of our money as retirees is going to be coming initially from that fund. But what this does is this allows for the $16 billion that's in the Central States Pension Fund to be relieved of this constant drainage of principal, and allows that principal to begin to grow. Over a period of time, we'll also be paying the interest on the money that we're being lent, so that this does not accumulate under the process of compound interest. So at the end of the term, we will owe the amount of money that we actually were lent, not the amount of money plus interest. So that's why it makes it, when you get to the end of this, it makes this quite possible. It makes it feasible to be able to do that.
Like all of you, I believe the promises made should be promises kept. The promise made to the workers in multi-employer pension plans like those in the Central States, that's a pension that you've earned through your decades of hard work, and it should be there for you when you retire.
I, for one, am sorry that you have to be here on a Saturday morning, but I'm also damn glad you are, because if not you, who? Who's going to do it? And it's probably fitting that you're here on this morning, because in the middle of the night last night, with no hearings or no input, the Senate passed a steaming pile of crap that will gut this country, gut the investments that we make it more difficult for the middle class. And then Monday, they're going to bring us back together and take the steaming pile that came out of the House and the steaming pile out of the Senate and combine those two things together. And they're going to tell you that it's good for America to give a tax break for carrying interest, but not for carrying a rucksack in the military. They're going to tell you it's good to give back money to hedge fund managers and make teachers pay out of their pocket to make sure kids get what they need in schools that are underfunded because they gutted the funding in the first place. So we're here today. Yeah, we're talking about pensions. This is not a pension rally. This is not a labor rally. This is a justice and fairness rally. This is about doing what we promised, making things happen. Who would have thought that the people who tell us you play by the rules, you get a job, you work hard, you try and save, you do something about having dignity in the future, that you'd be here on a Saturday morning fighting for what's yours. As we said, not a benefit that somebody's giving you, fighting for what's yours so that they can give a tax cut to the people who don't need it. So they can tell you, the people who never paid tax in the first place on estates, that we need to do the estate tax. We need to make sure we don't lose farms or whatever. We don't lose farms to the estate tax. You know who benefits from the estate tax, and they're sitting in the White House. They're the ones making the rules. So you're here today to make a difference, but it's not going to matter unless we organize. It's not going to matter unless we tell all of those people out there who somehow think a defined benefit plan is like this wonderful golden goose thing that was laid upon you. It's not just good for families, it's good for our economy. If this country can't provide dignified retirement to its people, what the hell do we stand for? What's important out there? It's the story of the labor movement in America. It's the story about dignity in work and dignity in labor. It's the story about what's changed in this country and why that map looks all red across the country and why folks who we know should be standing with us in this rally and say, do what's right for workers, do what's right for our economy, and it's been turned on its head.
I get what you're here for, I get the struggles, I get what this fight is all about. You know, you paid into those pensions every single penny that was asked of you. You gave up concessions because of those pensions. You forfeited some wages, you forfeited some benefits, maybe some vacation time, maybe some health care. You were able to give that up and willing to give it up so that you could, in your retirement, have a pension that would support a middle-class lifestyle. We need to keep those promises that were made to you. It's keeping the faith, it's the right thing to do, it's the moral thing to do. And I don't know about you, but I think that if Congress can give big corporations a 40% tax cut, we can certainly afford to fix your pensions. So thank you for
I'm damn proud to be a teacher. And he designated me as a shop steward for the U.S. House of Representatives. Elections matter, okay? I'll tell you what, good politics is not just about gratitude and paying it forward. It's about knowing your history, knowing how things happen, good things and bad things. For those of you who don't know, Minnesota unions led the fight to secure pensions and health care in this country. In 1947, okay, the steelworkers put on the negotiating table pension benefits and health care benefits. And do you know what the National Labor Relations Board did? They said you can't do it. It's illegal. That's right. In our lifetime, that's what happened. But there was an election in 1948. Wow, imagine that. Harry Truman got elected. He changed the makeup of the National Labor Relations Board. The unions put pension benefits, health care back on the table, and by God, they were made legal, and we got pensions as a result of that. Elections matter.
What a wonderful, wonderful start of a great day. We can't be more grateful and thankful to the people that have represented us in this legislative process as we've gone forward.
My name is Angie Craig, and I'm running for Congress in 2018 in Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District. And let me tell you something, what Tim and Rick said a minute ago about we need to win elections. I ran the 3rd closest race in the country in 2016 and got beat by Jason Lewis by 1.79%. Is there 2% of people in this room today who think we can take this seat in 2018? Last night, as this tax bill passed in this country, I sat there and I watched Congress light a match, light an absolute match to income inequality in this nation. I watched them light a match to families like the one that I grew up in. Because there is no way I'd be standing here today from where I came from, running for Congress, if the access to education, the access for my grandmother to make a good living and help support my family. So you better bet, as a member of Congress, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up every single day for working class folks in this country. I'm going to make sure that we prioritize apprenticeship programs and technical programs again in this nation, because that's absolutely the direction we need to go.
And this movie comes on called Raging Bull. You see that movie, Raging Bull? About Jake LaMotta in the 1940s and 50s. Jake LaMotta knocks Dave Sugar Ray Robinson in one round, knocks him out, right? But the other two, Jake LaMotta's in aeroplanes, he's getting a blanket at him, right? He's hanging on the ropes. And Jake LaMotta looks at Sugar Ray Robinson and says, "Hey Ray, you never knocked me down." Well, that's us, because they're never gonna knock us down. You know that? That's what we're all about. But this thing makes me sick. They outsourced our jobs. Listen, I know we had one president put one nail in the coffin, but NAFTA was pushed by Cheney Sr. and Bush Sr., originally introduced. Okay? Don't let it fool you. The American industries had dried up because they started this race to the bottom and outsource our jobs. And don't let this clown that's running that country now is going to do anything else for you. When I went on a construction site, you couldn't get through the gate without a union card. The Teamster was at the gate. The unions are about one thing. The unions are this. The branches and the fruits are supposedly our pensions and health and welfare. The trunk of the tree is a union membership. You know what the roots of the tree is? You may get sick, you don't want to hear this. It's politics and organizing. And if you don't get involved now and get out there and vote and don't fall for the phony propaganda, we're going to lose again. But we have an obligation, and I have an obligation. If you can get that passion from within you with your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, you need to get them out there. We're up against the wall because one thing, we don't get out there and vote, we don't get involved, and we wonder why this stuff is happening to us. We need to bring American industry back here. Look around this area with the meat packers. How many factories there used to be here? Okay? Look around St. Paul. Okay? Whirlpool, Stroh's Brewery, Schmidt's Brewery, 3M. You wonder why we're in this situation. Because we don't get people out there to vote. We don't get people to see through the phony bullshit that they try to shove down our throats. Okay? I'm not going to talk about gays, gods, and guns. I'm going to talk about labor union rules and laws. And every goddamn law that's ever been passed to repeal us has been passed by Republicans.
All right, good morning, brothers and sisters. Greetings from your nurses. Let me tell you, there are two things that nurses will protect at all costs. The safety of their patients and the pension that they worked so hard to win. A little nurse history for you. Before 1962, nurses earned 90 cents an hour. They spent 40 to 50 years walking those hospital floors, caring for patients. And what did they get when they retired? Bunions. That's what they got. Certainly no retirement. Well, that was unacceptable to those nurses, so they engaged in a courageous campaign for a defined benefit pension plan. And guess what? Even though everybody said it couldn't be done, the nurses did it. That they started the Twin Cities Hospital, Minnesota Nurses Association pension plan, one of the only defined pension plans left in the country for nurses.
And the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation, we're the umbrella organization for all the unions, and this was my first union that I was a member of, UFCW Local 1189, so it's wonderful to be here. You know, I think you all know that the labor movement stands with you, so I actually want to send a special message to you as probably being one of the youngest people in the elected leadership in the labor movement, and that's our pensions and our retirements are the most difficult thing that we're going to have to grapple with as a generation. There is a huge shift, and what do employers do? The first thing they do is they try to divide us. They divide the young people coming into the workforce with the people who have been there. And we will not let that stand. We will be in this together. All of us united in the labor movement, young people, retirees, people on the verge of retiring. So I just want you all to know that we're here with you. We're going to do what we need to support you across the labor movement, and young workers are here as well. So thank you so much for being so organized. This is how we win.